Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today for this event that we are doing today together with our long-standing customer, California Health Sciences University, CHSU. And we will be featuring today a CHSU Library success story and how they have partnered with TDNet to transform the library services. We are very happy to have as today's guest speaker Kyle Robinson from CHSU Library. My name is Nir Karmi, and with me is Doug Madigan, who will be shortly having a very interesting conversation with Kyle. So we will start with some introduction and background to CHSU and its library, and then Doug and Kyle will take a deeper dive into the implementation and usage of TDNet Discover and our new repository tool, TDNet DataSphere at CHSU. And finally, we'll have a dedicated section for Q&A. So I will now hand it over to Doug and Kyle.
Let's try that one more time, this time with a mute off. I think that'll work much better. Thanks, Nir. Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Madigan. I'm the sales manager for TDNet. I'm glad to be joined today by Kyle Robinson from CHSU. Kyle, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, a little bit about the university, and how the library serves its users?
Yeah, absolutely. And I gotta say too, I should have had my CHSU banner. I see you guys have those really nice TDNet. But anyway, so I'm from librarian from CHSU. It's California Health Sciences University, and we're located in the Central Valley of California, which is a really cool place. Our university is very unique to this area too, which is a great opportunity for us. And our mission right now, we have three colleges. We have a pharmacy college that's kind of being taught out right now. We just started a master's of science in biomedical sciences. And then we also have our College of Osteopathic Medicine, right? The driving force, I think. And our library, we have three librarians, excuse me, right now, including myself. And we kind of wear different hats all the way, all around the different universities. My title is Electronic and Technical Services Librarian, so I really try to stay in that area as much as possible. But with three librarians, we have probably almost 700 users, like our population right now. So it's hard to stay right in my realm a lot. We offer a lot of services, right? So we go into classrooms for instruction. We have faculty development opportunities. We offer a ton of resources and services, right? Especially being a medical school. We support research for the students, so we're actually integrated in a couple of classes for the first and second year, so we can really drive that home and hope that they actually are listening to us. And yeah, so I think we're a pretty well-rounded library. And again, I mean, we kind of just, we help out each other as much as possible in all the different areas.
That's fabulous. Thanks for that, Kyle. Helps kind of set the stage a little bit. Of course, one of the things we're here to talk about today is that your library did select TDNet Discover and TDNet DataSphere. What were some of the things you were looking at that time? How did you end up coming to that decision? We'd be interested in kind of the factors that were involved in your process there.
Yeah, totally. So, wow, this is like 3 years ago now too, right? 3 or 4 years ago. So I looked at a ton of different discovery platforms, right? We were a pretty new library overall, especially with the College of Medicine. So it was a good opportunity to kind of grow with somebody, I think. And I had a list of objectives and points that I wanted to kind of look through with every different discovery platform. But number one at the very top of my list that I highlighted was ease of use, right? That's like the number one thing to me. And especially with our population, medical students, they don't have a lot of time, right? So being able to search for something and get straight to the results was super important. But not only that, like the second layer, like to actually visually see the result and understand what it is, okay? Because some of them can get I feel like some of the platforms can get kind of jumbled. There's just too much information. There's too much going on. With TDNet, I felt like, if I searched for anatomy, which I know is super broad, I was taken to anatomy resources, and it was really clear to see like this is a journal, book, that kind of stuff. So I think that was number one. Affordability too. That's a huge factor, of course, especially with a smaller library like us. Of course, we're not super small anymore, but that was a huge factor. And I mean, the people representing it, right? I think you made a pretty big impact on us right away too. But
Yes.
just ease of use and access. I mean, those far and away were the two criteria that I was looking for.
Great. And then what about the TDNet DataSphere repository product? How did that fit in?
So that was really, really neat to see that you had that. So about the same time, I was looking for discovery systems. We were also looking for an institutional repository platform, right? And again, I went through an exhaustive list on those, even open source ones, all sorts. And one of the things that jumped out at me, for one, was having it in the same platform is amazing. But you know what I mean? Not going back and forth between different platforms. That's pretty important too to me. Um, because we have a lot of systems. I think every library understands how many vendor platforms you have. So being able to condense it is one. But two, I like the customization options with TDNet in general, discovery and institutional repository. And that jumped out at me because if you see a lot of like institutional repository platforms, that kind of stuff, their pages are super cookie cutter and you can't customize them as much as you think you can or you want to. And to me, that's very infuriating sometimes to not be able to do exactly what I'm envisioning for my population. But with TDNet, I mean, you can change pretty much anything, right? And even things that I couldn't change specifically right at first, I mean, they worked with me and changed them right away. But even then, and I'll show you, I think, in a little bit here, right? So how much I was actually able to change it. So that was really important. And then again, just the user interface when you actually get to the record level is very clean, and it was just very obvious to our users, what we were looking at. So
Wonderful. That's great. I think this is a good segue. If you want to show us a little bit of what you've done with TDNet Discover and with the DataSphere repository, we'd love to see it. So I think this is a good time as any to jump into the demo if you have things ready to go there, Kyle.
Let's see here. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes. All right, cool. So this is our main library website page. And if you notice right off the bat, I mean, the search is right here. It's front and center. So this quick search is linked to TDNet Discovery, right? This ebooks is linked to our library e-resources for the ebooks in TDNet Discovery. And then if we scroll down, I'll show this a little bit later, but we have the CHSU Institutional Repository here and here. And actually, pretty soon, we're going to have it searchable through this main box, too. I just haven't gotten around to it, honestly. But like, if we started with ebooks, and I guess I'm going to search for anatomy just because I said it earlier. It's a broad subject, but kind of important in a medical school, too. So searching for anatomy here, this is within our collections, right? So the discovery is going to search obviously broader than that. It's going to go through the knowledge base and pull up other results. So searching in e-resources is specifically the collections that we have, okay? But again, you can see what I was talking about, or I think you can. Everything is very clean, right? I mean, it's visually, you're drawn to that first result. An incredibly popular resource, the 4th edition of Gilroy's. It has the information right here, and I mean, if we click on it, it goes straight to it, right? So we can search by letter. I mean, you can pare it down to the subjects, but it's just a very easy way, I think, just to jump right to subjects if you know something of the title. And of course, we can bookmark it too. But if we go back and I'm going to search for anatomy, actually, again, let's just keep with that theme. I think it'll be good. So again, just right off the bat, when I was first looking at this versus some other discovery systems, it's not jumbled. It's really apparent, right? The boxes are nicely sectioned off, which isn't always the case. Honestly, sometimes it kind of runs together. You can see right away it's a journal. This is an article. I mean, it's clearly labeled. If you want to look a little bit more into an article, right, the abstract is right there. And we can go view full text. It's very obvious with these buttons that I have here, what we actually have or what we can request through ILL. On this right side over here, so these are kind of additions that you can turn on and off, which is really neat. I have ours set up. I mean, we could just have this completely blank too. It doesn't have to have anything, but I have ours set up with some, pretty important databases to us. So the TRIP database, Science Direct, and then this 5-Minute Consult is a product that we subscribe to that, again, can integrate with TDNet, which is always great. And then the filters over here, I don't know if you've ever searched PubMed, but it kind of gets that PubMed feeling, which is nice for medical schools especially. But if you're not a medical school, I think any of this would work because it's just really plain language, right? It's just easy. And if we go to full text, obviously we're paring down pretty quick, but this right here, the CHSU Library catalog. So we actually have our print collection integrated with TDNet, and our circulation system is a different system, but they were able to take that information and put it in here so users can actually search our catalog as well as our ebooks, which was really important to us too, and it makes it super easy. That would take us to our cataloging system, but if we actually click on the book, a user can actually just go and see, okay, we have in the student reserves, we have 1 copy here at this call number, right? So it's just, what was that, 2 clicks, 1 click, and they already know where it is in our library, which was very important to me. And again, so if we get rid of these, probably one of my favorite features now is this top box right here, this from CHSU Discovery. So these are resources and databases and stuff that I have control over. And again, I might have like a control problem a little bit, but just being able to customize things like this is very, very important to me. So we search for anatomy, and you see this very top resource is anatomy resources, right? So if we click on that, we can have this bounce to whatever resource we want, right? And we have a page that's fully, dedicated to the top anatomy resources. So it goes straight to it, right? And if a user, if we talked about Grammarly during an orientation and they couldn't remember how to get to that guide specifically, I always try to tell them, just search for it. Just Google search it like you would a Google search, right? So if we go to Grammarly here, or search for Grammarly, it'll be this top box again, and we can click on it and it'll take them to the how-to for installing it through our institution, right? So that became infinitely more important to us, especially being remote working and all that kind of stuff, not being here. Users have that ability to kind of search through all of our resources and always know that they can I always thought, just look at that top box, right? Just find the top box and you'll be good. So if we switch over to the institutional repository here, I'll just click on it from our home page. So I talked about the customization a lot. Like I said, you have full control over these pages, which you don't in a lot of institutional repository software. So the neat thing to me was that I could take, like the ease of use. So it's a WYSIWYG, it's drag and drop. You can make a beautiful page, but I could also kind of do my own thing too, right? So I could code a little bit and kind of intertwine them, right? They just work seamlessly together. So I could make it easy and hard on myself, I guess, if you want to say. So, building this menu system, I was able to do, which I really wanted to be able to do this and have this enormous banner because I think it looked good. But then again, just dragging and dropping into columns just to make this part easier on myself. It was available, and this recently added. Normally this is centered. I guess I forgot to center it when I changed it recently. But having it recently added, I mean, it's just all the information is just right here. And if we go into, let's do Research Day here. So Research Day is very important to us. We host this once a year. This is where a bulk of our medical students will actually create posters, on the research they've been doing in class, the classes that we actually work with them on. And then we can actually host all the posters here, which is really cool. And again, this is opening up channels for, other universities to see our body of research. It's helping the students to be able to send their research out, right? Because I mean, it's all hosted online now. It's publicly available to see. But, and I probably said this a bunch of times, but when you first click on this page, again, it's very clean. It's very easy to tell what's what. I clicked into a poster repository, of course, so they're all going to be posters. But if this was an article, it would say article or video, etc. These filters over here, I mean, they're produced from the metadata that that we're using to create these records. And I see here, I actually spelled research wrong, but that might have been a student worker. I'm going to blame them. But anyway, so it's very granular, and it's you that's producing all this, which is really neat. But if we just click on, would be a good one. Let's see if I have a poster for this one. Yeah, so I love this, how the poster's displayed right off the bat, right? Because like visually, impactfully, it looks fantastic. And honestly, showing administration this, it always impresses them, right? Because it just pops up, the poster's there. If we full screen it, right, you can just go through it like that. If you want to switch over to the details just to get a little bit more information about where it's from and who the authors are, you can. It's just really easy to just drag and drop this stuff in, fill out the metadata. That can be a little time consuming depending on how far down the rabbit hole you want. But again, it's the customization, it's the ability to go down that rabbit hole or do it kind of topical that I love, honestly. So, is there anything else you want me to show?
I think that's wonderful, Kyle. We appreciate it. That looks really great. It's obvious that you've really been utilizing both TDNet Discover and TDNet DataSphere here. Can you talk a little bit about how you utilize the reports and statistics from TDNet to what do you do with them? I guess is a good question.
So I do a lot with them. That's one of my fun parts of my job. So before we had this, when my director or something would ask me for usage, that kind of stuff for different platforms, I mean, part of the time you're emailing vendors, or part of the time, you're logging into an admin platform, pulling it, all that. But with TDNet, the ability to have, can I just show this?
Sure.
I'm going to show this, I think. It'll be easier to talk about, I think. The ability to pull counter reports, right, with that sushi link, so the harvest bees, all in one spot, is really, it just saves a ton of time, right? And it's a headache that I don't have to worry about. So if somebody asks me for something, I'm not searching for a password or anything. I just come here and I make a report, right, for the different vendors. And most of the major vendors are going to have, this capability to link like this, which is really nice now. So this is really neat. And again, super valuable time-wise to be able to just come here. I mean, you can pull all these at once and have it spit out an Excel file or whatever format you want, or you can do them individually, depending on the platform, if they have the master report or the TR, the BR, all that kind of stuff. But the other thing too that I really like about the statistics is, again, you can get super granular, like, what words are being searched, just pretty much anything that you want to know. And for me, I actually use that data a lot for my discovery box at the top, like I showed with the anatomy resources. So I go through there a lot to see what words are misspelled commonly, and I try to add those as tags into those things. So what was it? It was the Piro's psychopharmacology. I don't know. It was a word like that. I noticed it got misspelled a lot, right? Because those aren't super easy words. So I added all those misspellings to it, and you could see the usage start going up because people were able to find it easier, right? And we try to do that. I mean, even Grammarly, that's actually not a super easy word to spell, apparently, when you've never spelled it. So things like that, I try to stay on top of. And again, it's just very easy with the statistics platform here.
Wonderful. I guess I'd also be interested if you could tell us a little bit about your experience in, if you can remember back to when you were starting up, what the implementation process was like, what your experience has been like with customer support, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll rave about customer support in a second because they're awesome. The implementation was really, really easy. And it's so funny because when we were first going through this, that was one of the questions, like how long to implement, all the time, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, we got some that were like 4 months, right? But we did the TDNet implementation in a full day. I mean, it was just a day, right? And so they gave us kind of a template from what I remember, and it was like plug in your data here, have everything listed here, and we'll do it. We'll turn everything on. We'll put it, switch everything over. And I just followed the template, and it was done the next day. I actually couldn't believe it. I remember telling my director, I was like testing it all day just to make sure it was actually, because you hear all the stories about how long it takes, and I never understood why it took that long. In some cases, I understand like enormous, universities maybe take longer, but the process itself seems very easy, and it really was. So I only have good things to say there. And then TDNet support has been amazing. I mean, they really have. I think I even sent you a message one time, Doug, about one of the support people. I loved him. He was always so helpful, even with my crazy questions or requests. And I can honestly say I've never been told no from you, which is amazing because eventually you think I hear no. It usually gets passed on to a developer if it's like a way out there request, and I think everything I've ever requested has eventually been implemented, was on the timeline, or you did specifically for me, which is really cool. And then I know this, the customer support that's based in the U.S. has always been great. I think Anne is one of the yeah, she's awesome. She used to be a librarian. She's so helpful. I wish I could be that positive all the time because she is. But anyway, yeah, it's just it's been a really awesome experience, which is great because you don't want headaches. We deal with so many different systems and so many different patrons and all that stuff. Like not having to worry about something is really nice.
Sure. Anything coming up in the future? What are your future plans for continuing on with TDNet Discover and institutional repository? Things we should know about?
So I want to keep expanding the search function for the discovery tool. I mean, adding more resources to be able to show up right away, right? Because I do think that's actually getting more and more popular. To keep telling people to do that. One thing with the repository software, eventually I want to make author profiles for each one of our professors, and I thought a lot about this, and I want to use the TDNet page builder because putting in their name, their picture, all that kind of stuff is great, but you can actually put in the repository search and just have a filter on there with like their last name or whatever tag you want. So you can populate the list of publications right next to it. So that's going to make it really easy for me because it's like I set it up once and I don't have to think about it again. So that's actually one of the big projects I think coming up. And I think also adding our policies to a repository to make them more searchable is another one. So we have some pretty big things, and just expanding the repository. I want to get into videos and data sets and everything else that our university is creating. It's just stepping it up one at a time. I want to be good at the one repository before we move on to capturing other data.
That's great. I think we're kind of wrapping up here. Just if you were talking to some libraries that were looking for a discovery platform or a repository system, what would you tell them?
Well, first I would tell them to go check out TDNet. I guess that's pretty obvious to answer. No, I think the big thing is to like write down your 5 main things that you really want to look for in a discovery platform, like ease of use, like access, like that kind of stuff. Don't pass up on the visuals. Visuals are super important. But I would say look at all of as many as you can, right? Just like I did, and I would be very confident you probably come back to TDNet pretty much every single time because it's just think about the people that you're talking to, your patron base, right? I mean, seriously, like you don't need some expensive, huge system, right? When something like TDNet is perfect, it looks better, it searches more accurately to me, and it's going to serve your population a lot better.
That's wonderful. I guess at this point, maybe we should open it up to questions. I know that I saw some coming through the chat previously. Let's see here. One person asked, they said, you had mentioned you were using a separate system for your print collection and circulation. And then they asked, what are you using for print and circulation?
We're using Cersei Dynex's eos.web.
Okay.
And it's been great. It's honestly the cataloging system that was here before I got here, so we just kind of continued with it. But again, I mean, it's just it was able to. I think TDNet could probably integrate pretty much any of them, but it worked very easily with it. So
yep, absolutely great. Does anyone else have any questions? I think you did such a wonderful job, Kyle, that you answered them all in advance. But this has really been wonderful. We certainly appreciate you being a customer, and we're really happy that you were able to take the time out to talk a little bit about your experience with TDNet Discover and TDNet DataSphere repository. For those people who are interested in obtaining more information, we would be glad to set up and schedule a one-on-one demonstration for you. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out to us at info@tdnet.com. Any of you that are already existing customers and want more information about the repository product or other information, you can also feel free to reach out to your TDNet account manager directly, and we'll be glad to get back in touch with you quickly. So I guess unless we have other questions.
I think there was another question, Doug, about how it is work with how the uploading process of poster works.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Somebody's asking, how did you upload those posters?
Oh, so within the record details, when you're creating a record in the repository, I mean, there's a tab at the very end, and it's basically just, find the file on your computer or drag and drop. I mean, it's really that easy. So yeah, that part is very seamless.
Wonderful. Anyone else have any other questions? Well, Kyle, I can tell you that you're definitely getting a lot of thank yous in the comments. People found this really useful. They're all saying it's giving them ideas for their library, so that's great.
Awesome. That's great to hear, actually. And I'll put my my email in the chat too, real quick, in case anybody has any other questions. I mean, I'm always happy to talk about this stuff.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyle and Doug. It was wonderful and very insightful.
Great. Well, thank you all. We appreciate you all joining us today. That's the end of our webinar, but we do look forward to hearing from you. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and we'd be glad to provide you with more information. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.